back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. You know, sometimes I just have to pinch myself because here I am sitting in my podcast studio and guess who comes along? Paloma Contreras. She's stopping by for a chat. Yes. Yes, of course. It's a virtual chat, but isn't that like the new norm, right? A virtual chat. And besides that, how many people get to have this kind of chat? Well, it's me and you, right? This is the Paloma Contreras, the ELLE Decor A-list, Forbes recognized, shop-owning, fabulously talented interior designer and influencer. Did I mention she has 163,000 followers on Instagram? Well, there's a lot more to her. Based in Houston, Texas, Paloma has honed her eye for style over more than a decade in the design industry. She has developed a reputation for designing beautiful interiors in a broad range of styles which are executed in a manner that is described as polished, refined, and effortless. Paloma has repeatedly been named on the prestigious ELLE Decor A-list of the top interior designers in the world. She has been recognized as a next wave interior designer by House Beautiful, and she has been named to LUXE Magazine's Gold List. She was also named number 4 on the Forbes list of the top social media influencers in the home category, and also, according to ELLE Decor, is one of the top 10 interior design Instagram accounts to follow. She recently debuted a licensed collection with Williams-Sonoma Home. She's also done several projects with many exciting brands, including One Kings Lane, Bravo Television, American Express, KitchenAid, Kohler, and Peninsula Hotels. I'm running out of breath here because Paloma is on fire. She has more. Here's more. Paloma has a book named Dream, Design, Live, and a curated retail shop called Paloma & Company. And last but not least, a lady after my own heart, she just launched her new podcast, the Style Files Podcast. So when she has a free second, which doesn't sound like it's very often, Paloma does enjoy traveling with her husband Fabian and spending time with their sweet dog Tate. So there you have it. This is one amazing powerhouse. But I caution you, keep listening because it wasn't always this way. This is a woman who once cried on Sunday because she dreaded her work week so much. But then she went on to find her niche, to love her job, and to become an ELLE Decor A-lister. So, before you hear this incredible story, I want to ask you, have you visited Cravat.com yet? You know you can easily shop Cravat, Lee Joffa, and Brunswick and Fee all in one place. The terrific search feature so that you can find the latest products and collections right at your fingertips. And if you like to know more about the story behind the collections, explore the editorial blog Inspired for those behind-the-scenes look at everything and every collaboration that Cravat has to offer. I want to remind you to use promo code AWDB10 for 10% at checkout for any one Cravat fabric wallpaper or trim order. Okay? AWDB10 for any one order of Cravat fabric, wallpaper, or trim. All right. Very, 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 very excited to introduce you to Paloma. Hi, Paloma. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, LuAnn. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm delighted to have you, Paloma, and I've been excited and looking forward to this interview for some weeks now. Look, in the introduction, I went through so many of the accomplishments that you have achieved in what seems like an incredibly short amount of time for one lady. And the thing that goes through my mind, Paloma, is that any one of your accomplishments is above ordinary. To the book Dream, Design, Live is an extraordinary book. Your podcast, the Style Pod, Files, your blog, 2007, a visionary to know back in 2007 that blogging was a thing and the level of success it has. ELLE Decor A-list, Forbes #4 social media influencers, an Instagram following of nearly 200,000. It's any one of these, any one of us, including me, listening to this podcast right now would think, I'll just take one of those, please, and be happy and go off into the sunset. and the thing what I wonder is when I have the opportunity to speak with someone with your level of achievement, I just want to understand where is it? Is it motivation, desire to build something huge came first? It was a vision, or was it more organic and one thing turned into another and you saw opportunities? Can you take us through a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So it would definitely be closer to the latter option that you described. My journey has really been an organic one. And I think what has allowed me to be successful is not only my passion for design, but also my tenacity, the level at which I work. I'm a very hard worker. It's hard for me to turn it off. So that level of dedication, but also the ability to understand an opportunity when it's somewhat in front of me and to be able to tap into that. And, I really feel that I'm a curious person. So I've always loved design. And throughout my journey, I've explored the theme of design through many different facets, and I continue to do so, whether it's writing my book, working with our design clients, starting a podcast in the midst of a pandemic because I miss talking to people about design, things like that. I'm not one to shy away from hard work or an idea. I'm very much of the mindset that, if you want to do something, you try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, you do everything you can to make it successful. But it's been a really long and winding road. So you mentioned starting my blog in 2007 and being a visionary. I would say I definitely wasn't a visionary. I didn't know what was to come or what the potential was with that platform. At that time, I was actually a high school Spanish teacher, and I was creatively stifled, incredibly bored, looking for direction. And I just sought a creative outlet, really. And at that time, there were very few design blogs, and I didn't set out to write a design blog. I really was just like, you know what? I know a couple of people from high school and college who keep these things called blogs and just like write about their adventures and their travels. And maybe I'll start one, and that's a way for me to talk about different ideas or things that I'm seeing that I'm inspired by. And it was really just about creative writing and having a creative outlet for myself. But around that same time, we bought our first house. And so design was really at the forefront of my mind and my focus. And I was looking for inspiration online and wasn't able to find it because I could probably name, 4 or 5 blogs that were around at that time. And none of them were really anything that spoke to my aesthetic. I felt like there was something missing. So I just naturally started writing about things that I was seeing that I loved. And I think, I don't know, maybe 5 people read it at the time, but I was consistent with it over time as I realized, okay, this is something that I enjoy doing. And I think that's something to think about. Anything that is worth spending your time on is something that you should be passionate about and that you should enjoy. So for me, it was, this is something really fun. I'm enjoying this outlet. And so I naturally just started doing it more often. And by doing it at a more regular cadence, I was able to build an audience. And I do think that anything that you do, you have to have consistency if you're trying to build an audience or a brand or a name for yourself. And that's a big part of it. But I could ramble on about this forever. So.
Well, and it's so interesting to hear because on one hand, I totally can see it. I can see the moment in time. You're working in a particular job. You're not feeling fulfilled, and you have this skill and talent for writing and the natural curiosity. And what's interesting, I love the connection that you made to the ability to see an opportunity, because that is a part of that little alchemy, right, Paloma, where you're doing it consistently. And I'm curious to know, at what point did you start to see opportunities, and what point did you continue teaching Spanish for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Like, when did you start to see something's happening here? I'm enjoying it, there's no question, but we're getting, some eyeballs on this thing.
It was probably within that first year. So
Wow.
I started the blog in July of 2007, and then I went into one last academic school year. And so by the following May, I had quit my job. At the end of that school year, I put in my resignation, and I haven't taught since then. So 2008. The blog grew pretty quickly. I think one of the things that really helped spur that growth was a feature, I think, in Better Homes and Gardens. They used to do this like Blogger of the Month feature way back when. And so they chose to feature me in that. And that was a huge bump and a huge validation too, because blogs were so new at that time. And so to have, my little blog, and I remember forever, like the URL was literally a blogspot URL, and they put that in the magazine, and it drove a ton of traffic and new eyes over. And so at that point I realized, okay, wow, there's something here. And I just kept doing it. I kept doing the work. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do when I quit my teaching job. I just knew that I couldn't keep doing that. I would cry every Sunday night because I didn't want to go back for another week of work. So it's time to leave that behind. But over the years, those first couple of years, I did a lot of freelance things. And this was before being an influencer was even a concept or a word that was recognized in the cultural vernacular. People would reach out, and I'd get writing assignments and little design things or collaborations with brands like American Express or Nest thermostats or Benjamin Moore, things like that, where we would collaborate on a story together and create content. And that was really before that movement really took off. But eventually I started doing some affiliate advertising on the blog, and so that was a stream of revenue. And that's something that I think helped grow the blog and really create a business out of it. And then eventually, I'm telling you, it's a long and winding road. In 2011, I went to work for Visual Comfort, the lighting manufacturer, and I was director of marketing there. And I had literally no marketing experience. And this company, is an anomaly in the sense that it has had incredible growth in the 30 years since it was founded in 1989. But the owner of the company came to me and said, I've interviewed all of these people, and we knew each other through a personal connection. I've interviewed all of these different people to come in and take this marketing role, and no one seems to know how to even market themselves. And what's going on in there. And he tapped on his computer screen. And you know how to market yourself better than anyone I've met. And I thought, well, you do realize I have no marketing experience, and I was a teacher. But if you're willing to take a chance, I'm willing to try it out. And so I was with Visual Comfort for a couple of years. And during that time, we launched the Erin Collection. And that was so fun. It was a really amazing time in that I was able to understand a different facet of the design industry, to see, that marketing arm, the manufacturing arm, really, the product arm through the lens of marketing. And it was fascinating to work with their various design partners. They were with Ralph Lauren and Thomas O'Brien and Susan Kassler and Alexa Hampton. And then we launched Erin. So to be able to work directly with these creatives and see what their process was from the moment that they're inspired by an idea, and then translating that into a tangible product, and then to work with them to bring that product to market, and, working with the magazines to get placement for all of those things, and supporting them with stories and all of that. It was a huge education, that really allowed me to hone a different set of skills. And I do think that the time that I spent writing the blog had sort of prepared me for that. And it was a great fit. I really enjoyed that time. I learned so much. I maintain a really strong relationship with everyone at the company. But I realized that having spent several years freelancing leading up to that, I was not loving being part of a corporate setting, and I missed my freedom as a freelancer or someone working for themselves. So I was there until I don't know, 2013, I think. And so then I gave them a really long notice, and after that, I decided to hang my shingle and became a decorator. So I started my design firm, and I haven't looked back.
It's incredible. It's an incredible story, an incredible journey. And I can see what you're telling us in there is that, having this experience of figuring out how to market a brand, a manufacturing, a product, how that would inform you years later when you are being sought out by brands for collaborations. It's sort of, what the win-win is, what they need. And if you can deliver that, then we're not even having any negotiation. It sounds like to me, like that would be in my mind, right? Right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So interesting. I have a question for you in
Sure.
all of this. So I hear that the opportunity in 2007, growing into 2008, and what you said was there are people reaching out, Amex reaching out, different people reaching out to do articles and collaborations and so forth that are writing collaborations based on your talent and expertise that you've displayed in the blog. And to your point, it was so new. It was the Wild West. Nobody really knew what it was going to be and how it was going to work. And you might have some of these forward-thinking companies like Amex or whatever that are saying, hey, this is how we tap into the design industry or the home or the lifestyle industry by working with one of these up-and-coming bloggers who really has a following. But now, to your point, it's the way it's done, right? To be an influencer is everybody's third, thing on their to-do list. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Take the dog out, brush my teeth, and be an influencer, right? And so, so the thing is, though, I'm curious, having had the insight of, and by the way, don't think for 1 second that I think that means it was easy for you to do. It's like I always say, you have to be prepared to be lucky. You had to have the chops. If Amex knocks on your door, you got to deliver something of quality. It's not just, hey, there's nobody else but you. Let's ask Paloma, right? So you still have to deliver something of quality. However, the world is different, and there is a lot more noise, I guess is the way to describe it. There's a lot more people with a platform, whether it be a 10,000 person platform or a 100,000 person platform. And so what do you think now if you were sitting one-on-one with a colleague, and let's put them 10, 15 years in business, and they feel solid on their footing as a business owner, and they feel solid in their design aesthetic and their back system operations, and they're looking around and saying, it's time. It's time to turn this into a brand. It's time to make this known. Let's get a PR agent. Let's do this. Let's do that. What is your advice in there now, breaking into that and trying to be noticed in all the noise? Anything come to mind, Paloma?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to have a really honest conversation with yourself about what your motivation is for that. Because if you think about how many people are in this industry and how many people there are out there who have successful businesses and are running profitable design firms that we may not have ever heard of. And
Right.
That may be by design, or it may be just that they haven't tapped into the right thing yet. One of the downfalls of social media, and I think being so aware of everything that's going on around us, is that people's motivations can sometimes get a little bit muddied, and you may feel the pressure to do X, Y, and Z because everyone in your feed is doing X, Y, and Z. But does that mean that it's right for you? And so I would say, why do you want that recognition? If you have a strong business, why is that important to you at this time? Really, really be honest with yourself about that. And then are you willing to do the work to accomplish that goal and to attain that recognition, because anything that comes along with that requires work and it requires a lot of dedication. And if you're running a business, chances are you're already stretched a little bit thin and you're working really hard and you're working beyond regular work hours. So yes, you can absolutely hire a publicist, but you need to make sure that you have several things in place to do that. Do you have professionally photographed work that is relevant that they can then pitch? Do you have a storyline? So nowadays, magazines don't even care if you have a great project. There has to be a news hook attached to it. So what else are you working on that they can then craft into a story? And then in addition, sure, all of this placement and press sounds wonderful, but it creates extra work for you. So you're constantly having to take interviews or send in quotes or whatever it may be. That recognition requires additional work. And of course, it requires an investment. So if all of that sounds feasible to you and like something you can truly dedicate your time, resources, and finances to, then it's absolutely a good idea to interview a few different people and find someone who is excited about you and who would feel like a good fit for you.
Right. It is. We've had several guests on the show talk about that. I actually remember way back in the first 5-6 months of the podcast, Robin Barron was on the show. She's a New York City designer, past president of ASID New York, and she's got a great firm. And she said the same thing that you just said. It's not just hire a PR agent and go back to running your design firm. Then the PR agent's like, I need you at this cocktail hour on Tuesday at 6. I need you for this interview at Thursday at 2. And you've got to run your business in the middle of doing all that. And I remember her describing the two things that you mentioned. Number one, the business has to be prepared for you to step out and be called out. So the projects still have to run. Everybody needs to know what they're doing. The clients still have to be, supported and cared for, and the jobs executed. And you can't say, I'm a little tired today. I don't feel like going there at 6 o'clock. Right?
Absolutely. That's so true. It's so true. You don't have an opportunity to turn it off. And if you're not in a great mood, or a contractor just called with bad news, or there's a delay or something's going on, you have to be able to really compartmentalize that, set it aside, and give a great interview, or show up and give a great talk if you're on a panel discussion, or, speaking at a luncheon or whatever it may be. There's a part of you that never gets to shut off. And that isn't for everyone. So, again, you have to really be honest with yourself about what you're hoping to get out of it. Is it just that, your other friends who are designers are doing that? And I see that a lot, I think, in the market now, with like everybody wants to have a licensed collection, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of noise. I feel like there's a lot of sameness in the industry, and it's hard. I even find myself being challenged by it too sometimes. I think you have to step back a little bit and put the blinders on, if you will, and really just keep your eye focused straight ahead and not really think about what's going on next to you and what everybody else is doing, because I think it chips away at, your core mission on your journey, as well as your core aesthetic. But, I do think there's one misconception, and probably a question that a lot of people listening have, which is, how do I make this happen? Or how did this happen? And you mentioned something about, it seems like all of this stuff has happened in a relatively short amount of time. And it's always funny to me that it seems that way from the outside, because, from the inside, I started in 2007, so now 13 years. So to me, that's not a short amount of time. Sure, in the grand scheme of things, it is. I also know that none of the things I've accomplished have come easily to me. Nothing has been handed to me. I've worked really, really tirelessly. I can guarantee you, most people who know me know that I'm a really, really hard worker. And I've made, sacrifices in my life because I've been very career focused. I don't have children. I didn't have children. And I think that's another personal factor, I suppose, that has allowed me to work to the degree that I do in order to accomplish these things. And people don't always realize that. They just see on the outside, like, oh, this girl was a blogger and now she's on the ELLE Decor list and has written a book and this and that. Like, how can I make that happen? There's no magic pill. There's no fast pass.
Right.
It's years and years and years of really working hard, putting my nose to the grindstone, being focused on building a business, making mistakes, having failures, getting right back up. And primarily, I think some of the biggest factors in my success have been talent, dedication, a very strong work ethic, a level of professionalism. And, that's the thing people also need to remember. You have to make it a pleasure to work with you. You should want people to come back to you, whether that means a client's going to hire you to do a second home, or a magazine editor enjoys speaking with you, or knows that you're always going to handle yourself in a way that is professional. So those things are really, really important. And it all plays into ultimately where I am today.
And the thing is, I want you to understand that I just have to say it. I know you didn't take offense, but for me, 13 years is a short time when I've been plugging away for 40.
No, I get it. I mean, relatively speaking, I'm 38 years old. I'm 38. So 13 years for me is a long time. And I just know from the inside, it didn't happen.
No, I know.
And I'm not offended at all. And I get this question all the time, because it does seem from the outside looking in, like all of it has happened in a fairly short amount of time. But I know, being on the other side of it, it hasn't been without hard work.
Well, I think that really is the observation that I am making. I mean, I really think that's what I'm trying. When I look, I know who you were. I know who you are, and I'm aware of you through social and everything else. But then I do a different level of investigation when I prepare to speak to you. And as I'm reading and uncovering and going from site to site, I was just like, oh my goodness. And what I mean by the whole thing is, that's it. Like, to me, when I look at this body of work and I see 13 years, I know how hard you've been working. Like, that's the thing. It's like, this is almost unfathomable in only 13 years because of the level that you've achieved. And so then, having worked very hard myself, for these last almost 40 years, I'm like saying, yeah, there's not a lot of time for anything in this lady's life other than what she's focused on, because that's the only way you could, in my mind, a person could make the strides that you've made in, yes, which is a long period of time, but yes is a short. You have a lifetime's worth of achievements in the first decade of your career. You've got 30 years left. Like, my brain's like, whoa. So
that's very kind.
Yeah, no, it's the truth though, and it's not nonsense. I'm not just saying it to be all whatever. It's an actual objective recognition of what I know must happen behind the scenes in your day-to-day life in order to reach these accolades, because it is, as you said, I imagine and visualize the sacrifices. I mean, look, I haven't tapped into a tenth of what you have achieved. And just yesterday, my husband said, I'm really getting tired of the LuAnn work train. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, sorry, LuAnn's not. You know what I mean? Like, I have attached onto something and found something that fires me up, that lights me up, and that I'm willing to do for many, many hours every single day, 7 of those days in a row. You know what I mean? Week after week, month after month. And he's just like, I'm getting really tired of the LuAnn work train. And I get, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's remarkable what you've created, but it doesn't, you're not, it's not going by me how much it took to do what you've done. And so, but, and that's what I like to bring out. I had a similar conversation both with Amber Lewis and Shay McGee on the show about that behind the scenes. Like, you think it's all Instagram pretty, but I am doing this 24/7 all day long, answering people, talking to people, and I am focused, to your point, on what my mission is and what my vision is for my company. And so it's awesome. Now,
well, thanks.
Yes, no, absolutely. Now, let me ask you a question, because I know many of the designers are just so excited about the achievement of an ELLE Decor A-list designer. This is the top of the top. This is like Mount Kilimanjaro, right? Like, this is not normal stuff here. Talk to us about that, because in my mind, I think to myself, well, there's one of those be prepared to be lucky moments where it's probably, again, the combination of recognition through the blog, recognition possibly through your experience with visual comfort. Obviously, you're working your talent. Again, they don't just put you there because you know you're pretty and you have a lot of people listening to a podcast or a blog. But the point is, speak to a designer who, let's make an assumption, extraordinary talent. Let's make that assumption. Speak to a designer about that sort of achievement, goal, work, things that go into maybe following a path to get to that. What would you say?
Well, I think ultimately it's about positioning. There are so many talented people in this industry. I mean, countless talented people, extraordinarily talented people. And these lists are only able to recognize a set number of people, and it's a handful. It's a small microcosm of the overall industry. But I think what allows someone to be recognized on that level is their contribution to the design community. How are they engaging with the design community? What are they offering besides pretty pictures and pretty work? That's not enough necessarily. So I think it's all about, thinking about how you're giving back to the design industry as a whole, how you're engaging with your peers, your colleagues, what you're doing for the industry, what areas are you involved in? Are you participating in show houses or charitable endeavors? Do you have product coming out or a book? Or there always has to be some kind of angle, I think. And I don't know for certain. I assume that this is sort of where, these publications and institutions come from in terms of when they're determining who gets put on these lists. Oftentimes it's people who have been around for a long time, who have been published extensively. But then if you really start to dig down, drill deep into who makes these lists, it's people who are doing exciting things and interesting things and contributing in different ways. So to me, it's think about how you can position yourself in a unique way, unlike the next person, because it isn't always enough to just have good work.
That's awesome. You know what? That's about one of the best answers in almost 4.5 years and 600 episodes I've ever heard.
Oh, why, thank you.
No, I mean, it's so true because, and what I love about it, it's like, well, of course that's the answer. It's almost like, duh, but it is true because your first point is so well made. The list might have 10 people, or even if it has 100, the AD 100, there is 1,000 designers that talent-wise could stand shoulder to shoulder with the list, right? I mean, that's what you're describing is talent-wise, project-wise, the list is much broader and much longer. But the next layer is, what are you doing for the industry? How are you a active member that gives back, that contributes? It's such a, thank you. I think that's awesome because I do think that oftentimes a designer will get locked up in, my work is beautiful, how come I don't get called, right? And it's like, well, what have you, it's almost everything in life, right, Paloma, that you succeed at is somehow based on a relationship. So whether it's a relationship where you mentioned with the editors that you are easy to work with and you answer the phone call and you're pleasant, or it's your relationship in this regard to the industry. It's what is your relationship to the greater industry, not just you, your firm, your employees directing and interacting with your clients. How do you bring back and give? Awesome. So
that's exactly right. And
yeah.
I mean, there are people, I know that I'm talented. I feel confident about that, but I know that there are plenty of people out there who are probably equally, if not more talented than I am, who are not on a list. And I nearly fell out of my chair the first time I was on the ELLE Decor A list, and I really thought somebody was playing a really mean prank on me. Oh. And I was like, wait, who is this person? Has anybody heard of this editor? Because surely this can't be true. But thankfully it was. And I'm obviously so grateful. It's a dream to be on the list and something that I'll carry with me forever. And it's a beautiful, wonderful recognition. But I do think part of what plays into it for me specifically, personally, is the way which I engage with and support other designers and the industry, and also encourage people through my various efforts and channels to be curious about design and to consider design and be excited about design and tap into that. So all of those things I think play into it. So for anybody listening, again, just go back and think about what you can contribute and how you can engage, and don't do it with the end goal of eventually hopefully making one of these lists, because that's inauthentic.
Right, it's not going to work.
And that, that's what you have to remember. There's no right way to build a name, to build a brand. I think everybody's path is unique and it's specific to them and it's what's meant for them. I truly can honestly say that my path has been very unique and very authentic and sort of organic. I never really set out with the goal of having a big following or building a brand or doing this or doing that, because none of it ever seemed fathomable to me. But then once I got started, I'm motivated really just by proving to myself that I can do something, and out of that natural curiosity of wanting to try things. And so that's really been my motivation. I'm not motivated by being better than the next person or by being recognized by so and so. Of course, it's wonderful and nice and amazing when that happens. But I think if I were going down my path being motivated by those external factors, it would be a path that would probably be filled with a lot more disappointment.
No, it's true. You have to wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, right? And what am I doing today that is a reflection of the best self that I have to offer, that I'm thinking, feeling, doing, acting on. And when you do that, every single day is a good day, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most days, not every day, but most days.
Right. I love it. And then the other thing I would love to get your observations on is your new podcast and how you're enjoying that, and what are your thoughts and observations. And, it's not like you didn't have anything to do, lady, and now you add this to your plate.
Well, I mean, you know better than anyone how time consuming it can be and all the work that goes into that, because there's the scheduling, and of course you have to research your subjects before you interview them. So there's a lot that goes into it. So I didn't set out to be a professional podcast host, and kudos to you for 600 episodes. That's amazing. I can only imagine the time and energy that you've spent creating what you have. So, that to me is amazing that you've built your podcast to the level that you have. I don't know that that's my goal necessarily. This is another thing that I did very organically. I sort of had the idea for a long time that I was starting to listen to more podcasts, and I enjoyed the format, and I love chatting about things that I'm passionate about, like design. And so for a while I thought, it might be fun to do a podcast sometime. And it had probably been over a year before I actually did it. And so when the pandemic started, I thought, okay, well, things are slowing down. I have a little bit more time, and I really, really started to crave connection because all of our industry events were canceled, and I wasn't seeing my design friends from other cities because we couldn't travel, and I just missed being around design. And I thought, well, what better time? Everybody has more time on their hands. Let's just do this. And you run a much more professional operation than I do. That's for sure. I, use a very sort of arbitrary platform and have very limited editing capabilities, but it's really just, about having a good conversation. So we keep it casual, but we've had some amazing guests, people like Bunny Williams and Jeffrey Billhuber. I just interviewed Michael Smith last week, and Sheila Bridges is on today. And, we have all of these iconic people in the industry who have built really extraordinary careers. And what's been amazing about interviewing them during this time is that everyone has been so open, and they're chatting on a more personal level, because I feel like once you get to a certain level in this industry, you get asked to speak at events all the time. And so you kind of have, your canned responses and the boilerplate statement and all of that. But people have really sort of let their guard down, which has been really amazing. And so they're talking about their backgrounds, how they got into design. So many people have come into this as a second career, which is really fun to hear about. And then, they're sharing things about business practices and how they run their businesses, and then, being really real about what their hopes are after this pandemic and how we move forward. So, for me, it's been a passion project, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I think we've recorded about 50 or 60 episodes since April.
Wow.
So it's been a lot. In addition to, running my design business, and I also have a store in Houston, and we have e-commerce. So I've got a lot of sort of balls in the air at any given moment. And I'm taking a little bit of a break right now. I'm not recording for the month of August because I started to feel a little bit burned out, and I don't know how long we'll do it. How long I'll continue. I think we're booked through the end of the year, and I've gotten such a lovely response, people saying it's helped get them through the pandemic, and others who are considering leaving a career that they don't love and maybe going into design, and that this has been so helpful and they've learned so much. So I love that part of it. And then also I've been blogging less and less just because I just don't have the time. So this has been a really nice creative outlet, and I feel like a way for me to share with the design community. And that's been a real driving force for me. I love to help people and give back and solve problems. And people have been very generous with me over the years in terms of, sharing information, and I've had wonderful mentors. And so I really believe in paying it forward. And this is one small way where, if I have access to these people because of the relationships that I've built, and you may not always have access to someone like that, well, then let me share that with you so that you can hear from them too. And so that's been the best part of it, I think, is being able to put something out there that people appreciate and have felt has given them not only a source of hope, but really pertinent information that they can use in their own businesses.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the interviews on the show that you have done. And I want to give a shout out to Tina Ramchandani. Help me with that.
Ramchandani.
That's it. Ramchandani, yeah. Right? Tina, don't mind me, sweetie. But Tina has also been on my podcast, and she's an outstanding designer. We're fortunate at WindowWorks to do some work with her window treatments. But I've enjoyed her interview with you. I learned things about her that I didn't know, and I know her in real life. And it is nice the way that it's a slow pace. It's a slow pace where you take apart their hopes, their dreams, where they came from, what inspired them. It's very interesting to listen to. And I have to say that the podcast medium is very different. You mentioned how you're sitting with these iconic interior designers, Bunny Williams, Alexa Hampton, and the others, and they are so accustomed to speaking, whether it be a solo presentation or a part of a panel or moderating a panel. Many of them also will do. The podcast conversation, even though, in goes out to tens of thousands of people, feels like it's two people. And I have had the experience with I have that experience with almost every single person. But what I want to say is, I've had the experience when I've had this lucky opportunity to interview an iconic designer, typically off air, when we're done, they'll say, my goodness, I said things that I don't normally say, because it's just so much more intimate, even though, if you're at a panel discussion, 100 people are hearing you. And today, Paloma, probably 10,000 people are going to hear you. Right. And so, but it feels different. And so to your point, the access that you have and the experience that you have, and that you sit shoulder to shoulder with them, your ability to have that really intimate conversation is a benefit to all of the rest of us in the industry, because we feel and hear a side in a conversation that you bring out in them that we wouldn't normally get a chance to at a panel discussion or, something of the like, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted it to feel like you were a fly on the wall
Mm-hmm.
listening to a conversation between friends.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, you achieved it. It's really very enjoyable. I'm loving it.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so I have to say, I really, really do thank you for coming on today. I mean, it is a nice treat to see what you think you see about somebody and then to have the conversation and get a little bit of insight to it. And it always is a nice treat for me to find out that someone that I admire because of their work and what I see of their work, that when I meet them, I like them as a person too, because that's a special treat. And you just think, yay, because you want to like the people that you think you like, right?
It's true. Well, they say don't meet your heroes because people aren't always that nice. But I will say, in general, in our industry, people tend to be really lovely and generally very, very supportive. So I've not had really a negative experience with too many people that I can think of, and people generally want to help and want to support. And I'm so thrilled to have been on today. You made this so easy. I can't believe we're done.
I know. And the truth is, believe me, I could keep going, but I'm like, it's almost an hour. This is a busy lady. She's got another empire to open. No, I really do appreciate it. And I echo that. I don't think I've had a single conversation where I thought to myself, you're not what I thought you were. It's nice. It is an outstanding industry, open, loving, giving. And, I love your advice to just take a little assessment. A is ask yourself, why do you want to do something? And then the next question is, well, what are you doing as the pay it forward, as the give, and then to see where the riches come, and the joy and the passion brings it all together. And I hear that in your voice, Paloma, that it is the passion and the talent and the tenacity that really drives everything. But then it is your grace and your giving and your love of the industry and of the people in it that is really what's tying it up in a bow. So appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That's so nice of you to say. And it's truly how I feel. And I'm a firm believer, back to the old adage that you reap what you sow, and you put in the work, and over time things will happen. If you're genuine and authentic to who you are, you treat people with kindness, you're professional, and you really hone your talent, then great things can happen. And that doesn't mean that they're going to look exactly like they do for the next person, but it's what's meant for you. And truly, I don't think anything is ever out of reach for anybody. It's just, are you willing to try? And if you fail, are you able to get back up?
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Outstanding advice. Thank you, Paloma.
Thank you, LuAnn.
She's pretty fabulous, isn't she? I mean, the real deal. You could hear it. I love that Paloma did not sugarcoat how hard it is to get to that coveted A-list, right? She told us she gave things up, big things she gave up in order to do that. She worked long after someone else would have given up, would have said no way, and simply settled for good enough. All right. So there you have an organically winding 13 years, and there she is. I love her willingness to try things despite the fear of not being ready or feeling quite good enough. Right? If you look at her climb from teacher to influencer, her big breaks were often predicated on saying yes to something she didn't quite feel qualified for, right? When she started her blog, she said she didn't know what she was really doing with it. She just decided to do it. And when Visual Comfort asked her to be their marketing director, she said, I didn't have 1 ounce of official marketing education or experience, right? Official marketing education or experience, right? Because she recognized that she had something in her. She knew she had some tools. She had been doing the blog, so she didn't second guess herself, okay? And so what I'm saying is, while we might be sitting here thinking, of course Paloma can do this or that, it's clear that there were times when she was less than fully confident. But it didn't stop her. She acted in spite of the fear. And that's where the magic happens. It's when you know something in your gut, because I hope you do what I tell you to do, which is to cultivate your intuition and then trust it. okay? But you're never going to feel 100% safe in every decision you do. Not in owning a business. That doesn't happen. It never comes. Yes, more and more decisions start to feel easy and feel safe, but if you are really growing and always building and even just improving, then every day, every week, there are decisions where you're feeling like the ground is moving below you. But that's the moment. That's the moment where you trust your gut and you go ahead, just like Paloma did, right? So she didn't look and say, maybe I should go get a degree in marketing and then take this job offer, right? Sometimes you just got to trust that someone, how about this? How about if you just trust that someone asked you to do it because they saw something in you, right? The owner of Visual Comfort saw something in her and she said, yeah, maybe I could do this. So there might be a client that sees something in you and says, I want to hire you. Well, don't look over your shoulder. Say, yes, I can do it. All right. So I want to say, if you are needing a little help with this, you need that little bit of that confidence, I'll have to tell you, LuAnn University is soft launching in a few weeks. And one of the courses that we have coming up for this is Increase Confidence, Increase Profits. Exactly up this alley. Okay. This course is going to be taught by my friend and co-author in the next book, A Well-Designed Business, The Power Talk Friday Experts, Desi Creswell. All right. Now, you have had episodes with Desi on the show and you've listened to them and you've listened to her talk to us about the CEO mindset, right? So if you've listened to these shows, then you know, just like me, that Desi has a way of breaking down obstacles that prevent us from doing exactly the kinds of things that Paloma has done. All right. And here's the thing about obstacles. Some are real and some are imagined. That's the truth. Okay. So this is where really learning how to trust your gut and to take action, even when you're afraid or unsure, this is where the difference happens. It's like that. I always say that Rubik's Cube, like click, click, click. And it's like, oh, okay, I get this now. Right? So this is Desi's sweet spot in helping you work through this, okay? Because, you see, I want you to go for your big dream in your head and want you to make it a reality. So join Desi for 6 weeks of strategies, tools, exercises, and homework to help you increase your confidence so you can increase your profits, all right? Go to increaseconfidence.com. Increase confidence, increase profits.com. Early bird registration is open now until September 4th, and the cart will actually close on September 20th. We're going to start the following week. I hope to see you there. All right, now back to Paloma. One of my favorite things that she talked about was the importance of having a meaningful and active relationship with the design community. All right. It's not about just being gracious and professional with editors and brands, which is important, but it's also, she said, about giving your time and talent to do show houses, to do charitable endeavors, and even podcasting, right? She's now got this podcast going out and helping people understand the back end of, inspiration, where leading interior designers are finding the wherewithal to just keep going and what got them started in the beginning, right? So I agree with her that one of the best things about podcasting is being able to give anyone, big or small, access to influential, iconic people who can be this source of inspiration and also provide us the actual help and advice that we need to run our businesses. So, and I want to give a shout out to one of my longtime show sponsors, My Doma Studio. My Doma Studio does a really good job of bringing industry professionals together as well. With recent events like the 19 Hours Conference and 19H The Blueprint, My Doma Studio is truly a part of helping you next level your business, okay? And if you need a project management system for your business so you can feel organized, under control, and increase your profits and your confidence, you have to try My Doma Studio. For your free trial, go to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. Okay. I'm really, really delighted that we got a chance to talk to Paloma here. And the thing is, it doesn't matter if you aspire to be on any A-list, or if you simply aspire to make enough money to take your family to Hawaii, right? Now, I just have to say here, little observation. What's so funny is if you're from the East Coast, you always fly to Hawaii for that extravagant, amazing vacation. But if you're from the West Coast, you know what I find? That they fly to the Bahamas. It's just a funny observation. Thought I'd share that. Anyway, the bottom line is that you really have to love what you do. I know I love what I do, and I do it nonstop, okay? It makes the Vin man a little crazy sometimes, even though he's my big champion. But the thing is, we have to remind ourselves that success, however you personally choose to define it, is something that must be worked at. But it is not something. What it is it has to be worked at. But it isn't something that's saved for those people, because those people are just regular people like us. They are the teachers among us that wish for a different life, and they have worked their way up, okay? So, what are you wishing for? What are you wanting? What do you want your business to be? I want you to do it. I want you to create it. I want you to commit to doing it, all right? I mean, crying on a Sunday night because she had to teach Spanish the next day to where she is now. You could do it. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.